looking up sexy quotes from Bridgerton season 2 on my phone. You jerk.
All right. Dear readers, welcome back to another episode of Play.Hype.Dialogue. Today, we will be discussing season 2 of Netflix's Bridgerton. So get your tea, get your crumpets, and come along. I saved you a spot on my dance card. Joining me today are the banes of my existence. They vex me. Lady Carmela Whistledown and Carlos, Duke of Hasty Decisions.
Nice.
I was not sure where that was gonna go. I was like, am I about to be dragged within the first 10 seconds of the show?
Mr. Whistledown. Nice,
That was
Omar.
great.
Omar's definitely got the most thoughtful openings. I appreciate it. Coming in hot.
Maybe try to get on my level at some point.
Coming in
All right.
spicy.
All right, so let's just jump right in. I want to know who's your favorite Bridgerton sibling and why is it Eloise?
Carlos, you start this off.
Oh, this is season 2. It's Eloise. Like, of course it is. She is just phenomenal. Like, she's amazing. She's brilliant. I love that she had her little escapades with the paper delivery boy at the print shop. Definitely got in my feels at the end of the season when her and Penelope have a fight.
We'll get into it later.
Censorship.
Spoilers, if you haven't seen it, spoilers.
Your boy has planned this whole thing.
Yeah, no, Eloise. Eloise is amazing. Last season, it would have been Benedict, but I didn't like where his story went, so I'm done with him.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, so I mean it's obviously Eloise.
Right?
Yes, and I do have something to add. She did just be a little bit annoying this season.
Oh no, she got on my nerves. I love her, but
Yeah. I do also feel like people have been talking about that her storyline got a little bit annoying this season. So I don't want to be too hard on her because I think the storyline basically makes sense. And it makes sense for her to go through these like kind of growing pains and like bumps and bruises with the storyline. So it would be weird if she was just like perfectly awesome and super intellectual and like, you know, super in the movement or whatever. So I will add something, which is that I appreciated a Bridgerton I unexpectedly appreciated this season was Daphne. And it's because everybody else was just like, what's going on? And Daphne's just like, that don't seem right. And so all her scenes were some of my favorite. So she might have been my favorite Bridgerton of the season. She had like a relatively small role, but I just felt like she was the only one that was like, I don't think so. And it's just like, yo, everybody else got to wake up.
It was good. But she was like noticing things. Like her and her mom, they were just like, half of their scenes are just them like, hold on.
Like,
Yeah, my favorite was definitely Eloise. Towards the end of the season, she got on my damn nerves. But again, like Carmela said, I understand why. But yeah, out of the Bridgertons, yes, but I also agree about Daphne. She holds a special place in my heart. How about outside of the Bridgerton family? Because I'll just say it, my favorite's Penelope. Has been. I love her. I don't care what anyone else says. She's doing the damn thing. She's writing, and you know what? I respect her for it. She's got her own thing going. Although I have a lot of love for Kat as well.
Kate?
who?
Oh wow, Kat.
I said, was there a cat in this show that Omar was making a joke about?
Yeah,
Kate was good. It's tough. Like there's a lot of characters in this show.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking about it, like who is my favorite? I feel like you have to take Lady Danbury and the Queen sort of out of the running because they just stand on their own as excellent characters and they provide.
You like the Queen?
As a character, yeah. I just think they provide the like witticisms and kind of the background grounding. not like relatable content, but I think they're interesting. Like all of the scenes with Lady Danbury and the Queen are some of the most fun and interesting scenes. In
Yeah.
terms of who I like, I also like I like Penelope, and I know people are chatting about her right now too because she did some wild stuff this season. She's getting a little wild out here, but I definitely feel like she's a contender. And I loved Kate, but there were some things that I felt I wish were written a little bit differently for her.
Mm,
Let's get into that later.
Ooh,
can
can't wait.
definitely see that. Agree. There are a lot of characters. The question was specifically about the siblings. I think Lady Bridgerton, the mom, definitely got to come into her own this season in a way that I definitely want to see more of. Like, she felt like a more fleshed out character. I loved her and Lady Danbury's schemings and engagings because Lady Danbury was my answer. Like, before Bella was like, accept the Queen and Lady Danbury. I'm like, Lady Danbury, though. Lady Danbury, though. Really enjoyed her. And also, like, it was the older women for me this season. Like, I really enjoyed the arc
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Lady Featherington, Penn's
Me
mom.
too.
Like,
Yeah.
the scheme, like just the gender politics of this era, the things women have to do to like conform to their son's wishes or their husband's wishes. Now that there isn't a husband and she has no sons, she's got to deal with this rando cousin, but like she plays the game. Like, I need more from her next season. Like, Lady Featherington, just, I hated her. Last season, I was not a fan. I was like, Team Penn, she's the only one in that family worth a damn. Now I'm like, okay, I see you, Lady Featherington. I see you.
What's the older sister's name of the Featheringtons? The one that's not married?
Oh, that tall drink of asshole.
Wait, I think she's hilarious.
I've been calling them like Cinderella's evil stepsisters.
That's exactly what the characters
It's Prudence.
are. Prudence.
Okay, I just want to say she's not like a likable character, but that actor is hilarious. I think she was really funny for comic relief.
Yeah. Well, how about the characters that you couldn't stand? Was there one? For me,
Fucking
it was
Colin. Sorry.
Really?
yeah. He yeah. But the one that has been consistent, can't stand, is the Queen.
Mm.
Oh,
I really don't like
interesting.
her. I really don't like her. I really always with that stank face, like just like I don't like this. Like I can't stand her, and she acts like a child, and then that whole thing with like Eloise, I was like, come on, she gets on my last. I really don't like it. There was a
That
really
scene sucked.
there was a nice scene between her and Kate's sister. My goodness, what is with me and names today?
Edwina.
Edwina, yeah. There was a really nice scene between them, which I liked, and that was it. Like the Queen was only bearable with Edwina. That's Edwina's magic.
Yeah, they had a couple scenes.
How about you guys?
Colin, Colin got on my nerves this season. It's like, what are you doing? I don't know if it's the character or the writing of that scene where he went to go see Marina, and I was just like, dude, what are you doing here? And it's just a little too dopey for me. And then he almost like invested in the ruby mine thing. The one scene where he smashed the rubies and was like, nah, was cool. But then immediately afterwards, he was like, I would never court Penelope.
That
Maybe we'll hear more to that. Like maybe there's more to that set. Maybe they're gonna pull one of those things where he was like, I would never court her. I respect her too much, or something like that. But I was like, Colin, you little bozo town. You little bozo head, Colin. I don't know. He's just the first person that popped into my head.
Yeah, no, there are definitely some moments with a lot of characters where they sort of were on my shit list. Like Penn definitely had a few moments on the list. The Queen, Colin, Benedict. Maybe are we just gonna shit on the Bridgerton family today?
I was gonna say like
let's go.
Carlos hated everyone.
No, for me, when Benedict dropped out of art school because he found out that his brother made a donation. I'm like, you got in. Like, the other artists respect you. They clearly see that you're talented. Like, pursue your art. Pursue your art. Do your thing.
But you can see how that moment would come about, though. Like,
Yes.
so I
No.
think it made sense. Yeah.
I mean, it made that, like, there's no one that I really, like, hated or, like, really despised. Like, everyone had their moments where I'm like, okay, I don't like you today. But most of them won me back by the end.
So I'm curious because everyone's talking about their favorite ships. So which one? Do you guys have a favorite couple? And this is the last in terms of like favorites questions, but I am curious, like what couple really just gets your motorboat running? That's not a phrase.
That's a good question.
Wow, you guys are really thinking about that.
I mean, yeah, well, because like there's not that many couples. And I feel like obviously the central couple of the season was Kate and Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed parts of that and less enjoyed other parts of it. So it's a little more of a bigger conversation. I am definitely pulling for Colin and Penn. I will say that. Like, if that's not Endgame, then I'm just going to be like, what are we even doing here? And I think that it would make sense to change Eloise's story from what I know it is in the books to make it about her and this guy that she met, as long as he gets a character arc of his own on the side in future seasons, because I'd like to see his life.
Carlos? Okay, I'll go.
It's hard.
I really love Mama and Papa Bridgerton. I know we don't see a lot of it, but you can tell like the respect and love that they had for each other, even though when he's not physically present. You know, I don't know. There's something about it. I really, really, I hope we get to see more of them because we got to see a little bit this season, and I don't know, that one really touched me. So
yeah, if we're talking about if they're in the running, then definitely that relationship and just the power he has for Anthony and for the mom. And one of the things I liked is that when he's supposed to decide whether the mom, Anthony's supposed to decide whether the mom or the baby is the one that is saved when the doctor shows up. And he's like, you have to make the decision. You're the man of the house. And the mom's like distraught. She's like suffering the loss of her husband. She might be losing her baby. I'm not sure where it falls in the order of things, but the youngest, Hyacinth, he and her dance together, and the mom's like, oh, she's never going to get to hear his laugh. And so Anthony has a special relationship with her that sort of gets touched on a little bit this season. So just the power of the parents' relationship and how it affected Anthony and sort of warmed his heart a little bit from last season, where he was just like, I'm gonna fuck around, I'm gonna do my thing. Whereas here he was like more committed to the family with a care that we didn't really see last season. So that's a long way to say I too like the parents' relationship. And then obviously Kate and Anthony, love them. Definitely like their pairing better than him and Edwina. That just from the beginning felt so wrong to me. I was just like, no, I don't like it. Stop.
I'm curious about how your opinions of certain people changed between season 1 and 2. You know, for me, a big one was I really could not stand Anthony in season 1, which is why I appreciated in season 2 that we learn a lot about his trauma, and it made him way more relatable. So that was a big shift for me because I really could not stand him.
This was just smart writing on their behalf with Anthony. That was like obviously the big arc for him because he had to play this role, which I do think it was maybe slightly overdone in some of the early episodes of season 1. They were like really setting him up to be a huge pain in the ass, but they did a wonderful job of writing and giving us that backstory, which we needed to relate to him and root for him. So for sure. And that's got to be the big one. And then I think within the season, I appreciated the nuance of the arc of both Kate and Edwina because you like them both in different ways. And so you're not, even though they set up this, what I thought was unnecessarily prolonged competition between the two sisters, you liked each of the sisters in their own way and they got their whole full arc. So sorry to go off topic a little bit, but
yeah, I didn't even think of it that way. But yeah, they're in a sense a competition, but you love them both.
mm-hmm.
For sure. I'm gonna say it again, like Lady Featherington from season 1 to season 2, couldn't stand her in the first one, and now I'm just like, I want her to be okay. Like I get her in a different way, like the way she's looking out for her daughters and trying to keep everything together, the way she plays along and schemes. So I think for me, she's one of the bigger sort of positive shifts from season 1 to season 2 in terms of characters.
The younger Bridgerton. Oh, were you about to say the same?
I was about to bring up
Bridgerton things. I think they did a good job with that one scene with the young boy, the youngest son, with his scene with Anthony. Anthony. And Hyacinth, we get to know her, but we also lose the other sibling, Francesca. And
How do we
she was in the first half, and then I think they had a scheduling conflict, and she just disappears.
No, because remember she didn't show up until the last episode of season 1, and I'm like, what do they have with Francesca?
I know, so awkward. Like I feel like at a certain point they might just cut her and just be like, forget it. It's 7 siblings now.
I'm like, why is she there? If I were her, I'd be like, excuse me. You brought me back.
I read that she had a scheduling conflict abruptly. So
okay.
I don't know.
I felt bad. Damn, justice for Francesca.
But yeah, no, just agree. The depth of characterization given to the younger Bridgerton siblings was nice to see. Eloise definitely had some good one-liners. There were definitely some good moments of dialogue in the season, which we expected because Shondaland.
No, she's incredible though, Eloise. I love that whole thing. It's like I can't think of a better way to say it, but no, like, come on. All right, one of the most exciting topics to discuss: representation. You know, there were of course some big ones with South Asian representation, which I know meant a lot to so many people, and it was so beautiful to see.
With the casting of Kate and Edwina, they nailed it. Both of them were great actors. They looked beautiful. Their dynamic together was great. The chemistry was on point. I think politically, like in terms of who they needed to cast for these roles, they did what I expected them to do, which was cast darker skinned actors for the women actors, because that was a criticism of the early season. So there's South Asian representation, and they were both kind of darker skinned as well, which I thought was a solid move on their behalf. And I really appreciated the touches of or attempts at cultural authenticity that they wove in with the moments that some of the sisterly moments that they shared between the two of them were with their mother, of like oiling the hair, and the conversation that came up a few times about tea. So obviously I can't speak on it from any personal perspective, but I really appreciated that. And I read a couple of articles where there were some critiques, but a lot of people seem pretty happy to see some of those things represented in this type of show. So I appreciated that piece. And then the conversation about gay representation, I just feel like we're about to tear it up. So I don't know if we want to,
Yeah. But no, I
finish one and then transition into the other, or what?
I just think it's so important to discuss their skin tone, because especially in South Asian media, constant about the lighter skin colorism and all that, and that it is so rare to see someone with a darker complexion unless it's in a subservient role, which is why I think Simone Ashley, her presence just in pop culture is so monumental is that because it's just, and she's in lead roles, you know what I mean? Like, I guess she's not a lead in sex ed, but she still plays a pretty vital, but in this, and to see, you know, a woman who, and she's has an incredibly deep complexion, right? And so for her to be the lead, the love interest, like this epitome of beauty,
the love interest, yeah,
so important, you know. And I was so excited when I found out that she was cast, and amazing job there. And like Carmela said, I can't really speak so much on South Asian representation, but I love seeing it. And it's not even like my own culture. It really, really meant a lot to me to see that on the screen.
Yeah, I loved it too. And I feel like this is the jump, right? Because in sex education, it's an ensemble cast and she's in kind of a smaller side part. But this is obviously, it's like leading lady part. And I'm so excited because I feel that that trajectory will continue for her. She knocked it out of the park too.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see more.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not going to rehash a lot of what y'all have already said. Like, it was so great to have dark-skinned lead, dark-skinned love interest. One of the things that I know a lot of people responded to was the way Edwina constantly refers to Kate as Didi, which is like the term for sister in Hindi, I believe. Is like little touches like that thrown in seem to really resonate with folks. And it's not that hard to bring those types of things into a story like this and add depth to the relationships, which I'm sure we'll talk more about Kate and Edwina's relationship later, but it felt real authentic, like this older sibling trying to look out for the younger one, sort of self-sacrificing given the particular context and economic precarity and gender stuff. It's just great to see. Like, it was a really well put together season this season.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about the queer
So
shit.
let's talk about the gay stuff. So, my favorite couple of the season was Benedict and the man that they should have him paired with. That's not there.
Thank you. So that was my thing. Like, in the first season, he meets this artist. They sort of have this little vibe with each other. He invites him to the party. There's all this like alternative sexualities. There's this openness. It's art, which is like stereotypically today, very sort of a queer space at times. And then homeboy disappears. He starts hanging out with the
modiste.
The modiste, yes. He starts hanging out with the modiste. They have their relationship season 1. Season 2, their relationship is null and void. And he starts, Benedict ends the season with a relationship with the painting.
The model.
Yeah, the model from the figure drawing painting class. It's like, there was an opportunity for him to be maybe a bisexual character, for there to be some sort of same-sex relationship there, or he could maybe be friends with him and then be sort of tacitly related to or connected to some queer relationships. Like, we're doing all of these other things on the show. And I think we talked about this in our Bridgerton season 1 episode. There's room to have these kind of conversations. There's 7 or 8 Bridgertons children.
8.
There's 8 of them. One of them can be gay.
Francesca.
What?
Unless they cut Francesca, then it's 7. Sorry.
It could have been 1, and it would have been most likely to have been Benedict, given how he entered into the art world and met people there where there was more openness to polyamorous relationships, open relationships, queerness. It also could have maybe happened with Colin. Like, he goes and explores the Greek. Not that I want it to happen. Omar made it make sense.
Where are you? First of all, how dare you try to take him away from Penelope? Second of all, when did he ever show any kind of oh, you're talking about the Greek Isles?
Yeah, while he was in Greece, maybe he could have had, like, that could have been a place to throw it in. I don't want it because he is not like.
No, I feel like the second best option was Eloise.
But then I feel like that's very stereotypical, like the lesbian feminist, and I'm like, I don't want that either.
So I was pleased that they didn't do that with Eloise too, actually. And I was into the like social class thing that they were gonna do, which I think they will still do. Sorry, go on, Carlos. I didn't mean to
No,
jump
like it like Daphne's married. We don't see Francesca. And I feel like given the way relationships are done, it wouldn't have worked if they had one of the younger Bridgertons be in a queer relationship.
Well, we don't have the younger siblings' romantic interests yet
Yes.
at all. So like I feel like maybe they'll do it in the future. And I guess I still have some hope that they'll swerve on Benedict and go back, because I feel like, but I guess I'm just being overly optimistic. And I don't know why they would do this, because it seems like they had this setup for him being queer or bi in the first season, like intentionally put in there to set up an arc for that. And then it's like this season, it's like it was a very intentional message of like his scenes with the modiste, Madame Delacroix. Uh, sorry. His scenes with her, like in the early episodes where she just comes by for something and he's like, well, hello, am I going to see you later? And she's like, nah, chill. And I was like, why is this scene even in here? Like, it's like to remind the audience that they had a thing so that they can signal him as straight. And then later he has a thing with the model. And so just like they scrubbed any possibility of queerness from him. And it just felt like he was the character that was set up well for a queer storyline. And I don't know, I read something that said maybe they, like, I don't know, are they not going to have any of the siblings be queer at all? And they're going to do eight siblings. It just feels like why the like queer baiting that was set up in the first season. It feels like it's on purpose, like, and then a purposeful switch on this season. It's like they overdid setting him up to be queer and then overdid a like course correction on it. So I just thought it was not good.
Yeah. And I'm glad that this season, given the seemingly straightening out of his character, that they didn't like throw us a bone, be like, hey, maybe next season, wink wink, maybe next season you'll get it.
Yeah, no, that would be worse.
Because I feel like that would have definitely been worse. Like if this is his trajectory, that's cool, but like, can there be some friends, some community members, like something in a substantial way? Because we're often in the background and stuff. Like, let us be front and center, especially in a period piece like this where there isn't a lot of that. Like, there could have been room for that with the Mondrick's Gentlemen's Club. Like, that could have been a space when Colin and Anthony and everyone starts bringing their homies in. That could have been a space to sort of begin some of that. Like, there's room for it.
I was like, where going with this? Could have been a space for gentlemen. I was like,
I mean, you do see Benedict is talking with some dude at the Gentlemen's Club, and Anthony interrupts him, and then Anthony tries to steal his love poem and read it to Edwina, and then owns up that he didn't really write it. Like, there's space in the world as it's set up for there to be good representations of queerness beyond the nothing that we got.
Absolute zero examples this season.
I will say, I think it comes back to this line that I feel like they are constantly straddling because of the way that they did the show, which is like they have people of color in the show. So they're doing this thing where it's, you know, they're historicizing that piece of the time period, but still trying to bring in some of these cultural touches, at least this season, not in season 1 with the Duke, but in this season, I think they did that a little more, which I think was good. But a big part of the drama from the show comes with the idea that there's these rigid social conventions that if anyone's like caught in the room together, they have to wed. So I feel like they're straddling this. And for me, as I'm thinking about it, it's hard to conceive of how they would represent a queer relationship. But I think the fact that it's hard to conceive of is all the more reason for them to do it and write it and show us the full trajectory on the screen. Like, if you can bend these other aspects of the story, then you should be able to bend this piece, right? So I think I would, because I would like to see that story told. It doesn't have to be Benedict. And maybe if this show lasts for a few more seasons, maybe once they do the romantic lives of the younger siblings, maybe they'll do something with one of them. But I think they had a really good opportunity with Benedict to do it, to bake it into the fabric of the show, like the core fabric of the early foundational seasons of the show.
All right, you heard it here first. Carmela wants Netflix to bend over Benedict. So
oh my God, somebody needs to get that trending as a hashtag. I can't stand you. All right, goodbye. Have a good rest of the episode.
Oh my God, I think that's the clip for Instagram.
So, next on my list, because I didn't know how else to phrase it, so I'm just going to read it, is moments that made you snap your fingers like you were in a poetry slam. So to illustrate what I mean, I will go first. One moment was when Colin decided to show his whole ass and go to Marina, and basically goes up to her and he's like, by the way, I forgive you and I apologize. And she was like, I didn't ask for either, little boy. So go ahead and escape this dream world. Like, when Marina said that, I was like, go ahead, Marina. Because I don't know what Colin thought he was doing. And then he's going there and he's like, but you're not happy. And she's like, I have twins and a husband in this nice ass house. What are you gonna come do? Like, I think he just needed to be told what's what. Like, and he got on my nerves. So I was very glad to hear Marina call him out. So
yeah, that was a good call out. I thought the scene was annoying. Like, I'm like, why is this here? And I don't know if that means they're going to continue her story as part of future seasons. And I can't decide if I like wish they didn't drag her back in and just like let it rest, or if I want them to continue it. I can't decide. Like, something was off to me about that scene. I just didn't like it, but I did appreciate her response to him. She was like, what are you doing? Like, get out of here.
Well, any other scenes that you were like, ooh, you told him?
No, just like once Edwina did figure out what was going on at her wedding, which I thought was way too late. It was that was really annoying. I wasn't annoyed with her as a character. I was just annoyed with the writing. Like, I was like, you guys, they should have come up with a different plot device, I think, so that it didn't have to be that all the way till like episode 6 or 7. But once she did find out, I think it was most of episode 7 was like the wedding episode, or was it 6? I don't know, but she spent most of the episode telling people basically like, don't come around now and say this stuff. So she went from being a more pliant character to one that once she had all the information, she was like, no, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's like this. And I'm going to take my time and think about it, etc. So I appreciated, I can't think of a specific moment, but there were a few times in there that I was just happy that she responded the way she did, instead of it being like, oh, but how could we? You know, in fact, she was like, yo, what the fuck? Get your shit together. In the scene after the wedding, they're all together in the Bridgerton's living room trying to figure out what to do about their social standing. And Kate and Anthony are standing next to each other and like doing the like lustful breathing thing that they do. And Edwina's like, was I really that blind? And I just was like, this is funny. Like, because it's like, you two need to keep it together. Kate and Anthony, I'm like, you don't have to lustfully breathe each other in during this family meeting.
Yeah, it was like, you really can't stop. Like, he picking up a thing on the floor at the wedding. He was like, oh. I was like,
word, like,
sure. I was surprised. Like, what are you doing? Well, I guess she was his prize. But yeah, no, but I like that point where you said about like when Edwina was like, if I make this decision, by the way, it's not to make you happy. It's to do what I want to do for me.
Yeah.
I like that. You go, Edwina. Carlos.
I mean, yes to all of those moments. One of my favorite lines is from, I think, the first or second episode when Daphne comes over with the baby and they're like, Eloise, come look at the baby. And she's like, has he changed since I last saw it? And it's not a plot central line. It just encapsulates her character. And I was just like, yes, Eloise, I love you so much. Oh, that was so good. I don't know why. It still got me. It got me again.
There were a lot of I love every time that the mother just puts Anthony in his place. Every single time. I'm like, you are the glue that holds this whole show.
Yeah.
Bridgerton.
The mom and Lady Danbury, like their vibes together, their dynamics separately with Lady Danbury and Kate, with Lady Bridgerton and Anthony. Like there were so many of those interactions that I was just like, yo, like
Lady Danbury shutting down Kate in the beginning, actually, I thought was kind of dope because you're set up to like Kate, and we do, but I was also like, you're doing a lot. You're coming in hot right now, Kate.
In my house. In my house.
She said, what about these morning rides? You gotta chill. And when Lady Bridgerton tells Anthony that he'll end up alone with such unreasonable expectations.
Right.
I was like, go ahead, let him know, Ma.
Oh, another one. When she outs him that he's looking for marriage at the first ball in the town, it's like, oh, that the Viscount Bridgerton's looking for a wife. I was like, yo, Ma!
There was a lot of good ones this season.
It was so good. It was so good. Like, I know there was a lot of concern whether the second season would live up to the hype of the first and the dynamics of the Duke. And a lot of people are saying that. I think they're both sort of on the same level for me. It's definitely not worse. It's not a sophomore slump in any way, shape, or form.
No. So I'm a little surprised that you two did not talk about one of the biggest moments, and that's when Penelope was like, listen, you jealous hussy, you're just mad that all you do is talk, while I'm out here doing things.
Are you right?
I knew we were going to come to it because we need to talk about that fight, that scene, and the lead up.
Well, here's the thing. It's perfect because that is the next topic of discussion, which is Team Eloise versus Team Penelope. Who is it? I'm Team Penelope. I call it. I'm proud of it. You two, quick.
Team Eloise.
Carmela.
Oh my God.
Your decision affects the rest of the podcast.
I'm just here trying to remember the scene. All I have to say about that scene is I loved the conflict because everything was said.
Everything was said
from both sides. I hate when they give you the conflict fight scene, but like the obvious stuff to say isn't said. And you're like, why didn't you just say this? They said the stuff, and they went in there with their claws out, to use a gendered and problematic term. They tore it up. Whose side am I on? Oh God, this is the worst. I'm extremely indecisive. I guess I'm just here for the conflict.
All right.
Carmela said, I'm Team Bridgerton season 2.
All right, you know what? All right, Carmela, I've got the perfect thing. Carlos and I are going to argue our cases.
Oh, perfect. Okay. All right. Yeah. No, that's perfect.
So I'll let the loser go first. No.
Okay.
Oh, so you're going to go first.
No.
So passionate about this as well. So this is good. Number one, what did Penelope do wrong? Just tell me that. What did she do wrong?
She lied for 2 whole seasons.
Why?
She did not. It was a lie by omission. She did not tell Eloise that she was Lady Whistledown.
Okay, but is it a lie when you're just trying to protect yourself?
Not when you are in the eyes of the queen and are putting yourself in trouble in season 1. Not in danger, but in trouble in season 1 because the queen's like, you and me, we're gonna find out who this Lady Whistledown is.
That was Eloise's fault. That was Eloise doing the most.
She was still doing the most this season and almost got herself killed.
How is that Penelope?
Killed.
fault. I was up in Penelope did what she did to save her, but Eloise, because she doesn't know how to mind her own damn business, is the one that's getting her.
You're gonna talk about Eloise not minding her business when Penelope's whole thing is minding everybody else's business.
But if Eloise was just keeping her mouth shut, she wouldn't have been in none of this trouble. And when she did get in trouble because she couldn't keep her shit together and had to go see the paper boy constantly so she can dip her waters in the poor puddle, who came to her
It was
rescue?
not about dipping in the poor puddle.
Who came to her rescue? It was Penelope. She
By
didn't
throwing her under the bus,
Because it
bringing
was the
shame to the
only
family
way.
yet again.
It was the only way she could have saved her. She said it. It was the only way to get eyes off of her.
All right, I'd like to hear Carlos's counter argument.
So, like I said, like I didn't realize I was super invested in this until we started going back and forth.
This is amazing because I feel like I've never been so torn.
So,
All right, Carlos, talk to me.
So it's a lie by omission, and then she deliberately set up pieces to fall into place to screw over Eloise, knowing that she was still investigating.
Like what?
All of the pieces that went into play this season.
Give me an example.
She was telling her to stop. She was encouraging the way she talked about things in the Lady Whistledown paper. Like, it was patently obvious from the start of this season that they were going to get caught because they are one of us. The queen said it at the beginning of the season, and she didn't put any blockages in the way.
But how is she setting Eloise up? None of that was setting her up. That was actually her being like, oh shit, Eloise, you have a good point. Let me do what you want so that you enjoy.
Because had she been honest with Eloise from jump, Eloise wouldn't have been engaging. And you could tell Penelope was in her feelings when Eloise was calling it a gossip rag, talking about its People magazine when she's reading Mary Wollstonecraft and engaging with all of this high feminist theory.
But that's not setting Eloise up at all. That's why I don't understand that point, because it's like, how is she setting her up? There was no setup.
She didn't tell her.
So what? She doesn't have to.
That is her best friend. They have been surviving all of the fuckery of the balls and the ton for years, for all of their like teenage life. They've been together surviving, and she did not stop her.
Okay, so because they're best friends, Penelope is not allowed to have secrets. She's not allowed to have something that's hers and hers alone. And let's be honest, if she had told Eloise, you know damn well that Eloise would not leave her alone about it.
Not this season, last season, yes, but not this season.
No, Penelope deserves to have something on her own, especially considering the family life that she comes from. She just wanted to do something. She's enjoying herself. She's making some money. What's the problem? Why does Eloise need to know everything? Because Eloise can't mind her damn business.
And again, Penelope's whole bread and butter is not minding her business.
But that's because that's her job. Eloise is just doing it because she wants to be involved with everything. And you know what it is? And Penelope called it out. Eloise is jealous. Eloise talks a lot of shit, but she doesn't do nothing. Whereas Penelope, little quiet Penelope that nobody expected, she's out here gotten all the ton talking about everything. You know what I mean?
But Eloise talks the shit as Eloise and is not hiding behind Lady Whistledown, putting possible targets on multiple young women's backs when the queen starts to investigate and has people following all of them, could cause all sorts of trouble for all of the young ladies in the top.
That's because the queen is a crack sniffing like busybody. All right. What is she?
I'm not sure. Is it opium? Like, what is she like?
Oh, maybe it is
snorting.
I don't know. Okay, I think it's time.
You can be on whatever side you want. You can pick whichever team.
Been so torn.
That's what it is. Penelope called it out. She was like, "You don't do anything. You just talk shit and complain." Whereas I actually write about it, and she said it. She's like, she talks like that's the thing. And Eloise didn't even have a response. She was like, I never want to see you again. Why? Because she didn't have a counter argument, because that shit cut deep, because she knew it was true. All right, I'm done.
Okay. This is a very difficult decision. And I do want to say to Omar's last point that it's not like Penn is like making the type of impact that Eloise says she wants to make, but ultimately I understand why Eloise is upset, but I think I'm gonna have to come in on Team Penn.
Hey,
I'm so sorry. That being said, the one thing I do have to say is that the good point that Eloise makes in their argument is that Penn threw people under the bus to keep her. That I agree with what Omar said about like her deserving to have something for herself, her own project.
Of course.
She's being active. She's out there, and I don't think she was obligated to tell Eloise about it because that was the whole thing. It was a secret thing, and Eloise doesn't need to get her nose in everything. But Eloise,
even though Eloise saved Lady Whistledown at the end of season 1, let's not forget. Sorry,
but
continue.
Eloise does, the good point she makes is like she had that Penn threw Marina Thompson under the bus basically because she was jealous of the situation with Colin, and yeah, she was trying to like save him from a situation, but it just seems like she could have probably just told him and his family instead of publishing it in that gossip rag. So I think she threw Marina Thompson under the bus, and she could have seriously harmed Eloise and their whole family at the end there. So I do think that's the one thing that makes me like, Penn, because
did she lie?
She's harmed other people
but
to keep her thing.
It's true. That's the thing. Like, was Eloise like skipping out on the balls to go see the paperboy? Yes. Was Marina Thompson lying to Colin about being preggo? Yes. Like, y'all are just mother, she brings up the truth.
I mean, I still went with Team Penn.
Oh, that's true. That's right. Yes. So,
well, but this is the whole thing about this show, and it's interesting because part of the reason I went with Team Penn too is because everybody loves partaking in reading Whistledown and talking about it and giving credence to it, but still want to be upset that she's writing it, right? Including the Queen and Eloise, like, oh, how could you do this? It's like, dude, everybody's loving it. So everybody's participating, and yet they're going to then put it on her for putting it out. I don't think so. I don't like that. Right? So that's the thing. It's just like, dude, everybody wants a piece of this. So you're not going to shoot the messenger.
To the current era.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Eloise had some points, but like I was just so mad that she had an inclining. And she felt like, oh, I'm going to go trash Penelope's room.
She was wrong for that.
That was a little sketchy.
Always getting into Penelope. Like, I remember, like, Penelope is just trying to do her thing, and Eloise is just pretty much like, oh, I need you here. And clearly you're not doing anything else to wallflower you. So, that's Eloise was getting on my nerves because she doesn't, I feel like when she gets something in her mind, she puts blinders on to everything else. And she won't listen to reason. She won't listen to anyone but her own convictions, and that can get really annoying. It's almost the opposite. All Penn does is listen, and all Eloise does is talk.
And that dynamic had worked for them, their whole friendship, until season 1 Lady Whistledown comes out. Season 2, she's not invested in the same way that she was before until she is again. Someone's got to be Team Eloise, so I'm gonna stay Team Eloise.
That's fair.
It's a good conflict they've set up.
Yeah,
they've definitely set up a good conflict.
Are they gonna be friends again? We'll have to wait and see.
So I do.
They definitely will.
And I hope that season 3 really brings them together because I understand Eloise's frustration, but I feel like Eloise also needs to be like, you know what? You deserve to have something that's yours, and I didn't need to get that upset. And you're right. Omar is right. So
I'd love to see a rival paper.
Let's move on.
Ooh, a rival paper would be something.
That's definitely happening. Someone else is going to take over. It's not going to be her forever or something like that. Either someone else is going to take over Whistledown and they're going to be like, wait, it's not me. Who's this now? Or there's going to be a rival paper or something like that.
What do you guys want for season 3?
I want to say before we get it, because I know that's kind of like the wrap up question. I feel I want to talk about Kate and Edwina the dynamic between them as sisters for a minute, because I feel like it's really the central relationship of this season.
Oh, for sure.
We talked a lot about the Bridgertons, but not that much about them. And I just had to say, like, the primary critique that I walk away from this season with is that I wish that the kind of all the major conflict had not been built around the two sisters going for the same man situation. And I know that it worked, and it's baked into this piece of the story, and I think that they were quite sensitive with it, like to show it in a nuanced way. And like ultimately Edwina wasn't even like mad at her sister for that, she was just mad about the deception, like, so it was done well. But I just, it started that way, and a couple episodes in, it was just like, I wish there were some other impetus for conflict right now, because I think they took it too far. And I just wish that were not the dynamic set up, because again, like, the relationship between the two sisters, I think, was the most important relationship in the show. They were both really likable characters. And I know in the books that it's a little bit less, that like Anthony and Edwina don't get quite so far. There's just like some interest early on, but it doesn't last as long. And this, they decided to take it all the way to a wedding, and I was just like dying for that part to be over, because it's going to be right, you know that that's what's going to happen. And I think when they, around episodes 5 and 6, when they decided to lean into it and say, oh no, Edwina says she's in love with him, I wish that they had not decided to do that, because then some of the stuff that Kate's doing is just like, why would you do that? Like, why would you do these certain things? And so in the beginning, she's kind of unreasonably blocking the arrangement, and then it develops, and then it transitions, and it's just like, then there's a sex scene that we didn't talk about. And yeah, it was bothersome to me. And it feels like the reason they did that was because they wanted to have a wedding scene at the palace, but they didn't want to do Kate and Anthony's wedding because it couldn't top Daphne and the Duke's wedding. So they were like, let's take this all the way to wedding. So I just wish that they had come up with some other conflict, because that trope of like, they're like two sisters duking it out for the same man, even though, again, I think they did it sensitively, I just feel like, dude, there's no other impetus for conflict that could have come into the equation here.
It was dragged out. And I remember when it started, I was like, all right, what we're going to get is pretty much like, I thought that this was going to come to a halt halfway through the season. And then the second half would be, yo, how can we get Kate and Anthony married, because no one respects this? And then it would be like the sisters together, and then people having to like, but they just made it like, oh, they're married, it's good, everyone's fine with it, no one cares that she's this daughter of this like poor guy that like isn't even related to the Queen's former attendant. Like, but no, they just took it all the way to the end. And then I felt like it was a bit like, oh, okay, so they're married now, everything's chill, like there was nothing there, I don't know. So, but I do love the relationship between the two. Edwina, this might be controversial, I felt like Edwina was doing a little much at the end when she found out the truth, and like Kate's trying, and Edwina was just giving her a very hard time. I thought it was a little bit much. I mean,
it's like, a pretty big thing. That's what I mean. Like, if they had that same conflict a week before the wedding, then maybe it would have been a little much. But it's like, dude, we made it to the wedding day. Are you guys kidding me? And then she finds out because the bracelet falls off. And he leans down to pick it up, and he can't not look at Kate. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like,
okay, but real talk, Edwina maybe should have noticed this, because Daphne saw it, but the mama saw it. Edwina was just too blinded by, and she was not in love with him. I'm sorry. There's no way that she was in love with him. The dude barely gave her attention. Like, that was to me being like, come on, Edwina, you're smarter than that. But
yeah, I could get on board with that. But it was just a lot.
Seconding what y'all have said about like wishing it had ended a bit earlier, because there's definitely room for conflict. Like, had the wedding not happened, had they been broken up a little bit earlier, well, why did you go through all of this? Well, because your grandparents said blah blah blah, and sort of that storyline with the Edwina's grandparents'
Oh,
name.
that was another finger
The
snap moment
Sheffields.
when Anthony was like, "Get your
Oh yeah, that was
disrespect
a good moment.
out of my house," and they were like, "What?" And he was like, "You heard." That was good.
Yeah, that was a good Anthony moment.
Yeah, great. It was really great. So it's like, yeah, there was room for more conflict and tension in the relationship. Like, you kept this a secret this whole time. You kept the secret from mom this whole time. You've been at a certain point conniving with Lady Danbury because you got her to keep your secret. Like, there's a lot of secrets, and who's keeping the secrets and who is obligated to not tell people their secrets this season. There's a lot
And
of
later
that.
on, they could have used that other guy that was interested in Kate a little more because that one scene was kind of fun. I don't know. There were other things that to do.
I wanted them to go more into the guy that was interested in Edwina, actually.
I thought he was going to come back around at the end.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna be
But-
like, so.
Sup?
Me too. I was like, she's going to be with him at the end, but
Well, yeah, but then the queen was like, "I've got a nephew. Do you think that's gonna happen?"
It's possible. That wouldn't be how it went in the books, as I understand it, but it's definitely possible if they want to bring him back, Prince Friedrich.
I think that they're
Bring him
going
back.
to show. Yeah, he was in the first season. I think
Oh,
they're going to show Edwina doing like snippets of her doing her own thing because they've been talking about that a lot, like set up how she didn't end with somebody, but she's on this other journey of figuring out who she is without all these influences. So I think if she remains in the show, which she has said that she's hoping to, I think they'll show snippets of her kind of doing some self-discovery thing.
Mhm.
And I would love if there's a cameo maybe in like season 4 where she just pops up and like is married to that prince. I think that would be funny.
That'd be nice.
I do love the Sharmas. I was so happy with them.
Yeah, me too.
They were great. They were
So
great.
transitioning from that into that question you asked about what we want to see in season 3, Omar, I think it's interesting because the Duke is supposedly coming back in season
Mhm.
3, which I totally knew was how that was going to go. It just popping. And Kate and Anthony are supposed to be in season 3. So I am interested and kind of excited to see how they give those 4 characters really meaningful storylines, because to me that says, okay, we're going to expand a little bit beyond just the dating and marriage market. So I'm interested to see what they do with the post-marriage couples and how they weave their
Yeah.
storylines, and that should be fun.
Do we know who's the next sibling? Is it Benedict?
It's supposed to be Benedict, but my theory is that they're planning that they're going to make it not a season per sibling for the next 2 seasons or so. My theory is they're going to thread together Eloise, Colin, and Benedict's love stories, like interwoven over the next 2 seasons. You heard it here first.
I could see that because I don't know if I'd be committed to. If it's not Penn, I don't know if I want to see a Colin relationship
I don't want
storyline.
them together anymore. He hurt me when he said that about Penn, though.
Oh, I thought from the start of this episode today that you wanted them to be a thing later.
No. I love Penn. I think she deserves better than Colin.
Mm.
Colin straight up has been keeping her dangling, and then he doesn't even do anything until Marina's like, "Hey, dummy, there's a Bridgerton that's like all upon you, and you don't see it." And then he basically, I don't know, and then he dances with her, and then everyone's just like, "Oh, are you going for Penelope?" He's like, "Oh, I would never." Let me tell you something. I don't think you can come back from that. I'm sorry.
That's what I thought they were going to be a thing. Like, her letters kept him together and helped him discover himself. He starts to put the pieces together. He's like, "Let's dance." I'm like, oh my God, are they going to be a thing? And then he's like, "I'm a douche."
They're going to get together at the end of season 4 after some significant character development for him. And that's why I think Eloise, Benedict, and Colin, it's going to weave together. And season 3 is going to end with maybe something significant happening for either Benedict and or Eloise. I don't know if they'll get together with somebody, or maybe Eloise will like run off and decide to be a writer or so. I don't know what they're going to do, but something significant will for them will end season 3, and then we'll pick it back up in season 4 and finish out those storylines. And season 4 will end with Penn and Colin at least acknowledging their feelings.
Heard it here first.
It's possible.
I don't know. Colin has to go through some major development for me to want him for Penn again. I did at the beginning. I did in season 1, but not season 2. That messed me up. First of all, him still feeling for Marina, and then like basically treating Penn as like the plan B, and then not even that, just like trying to talk shit in front of the homies.
I do think Penn's gonna have another suitor next season.
Does I think she deserves someone?
I think she's gonna get someone for sure.
So I don't have an answer, but do we think that Eloise is gonna out Penelope as Lady Whistledown?
No.
I think that despite their fight, they still love each other deeply.
Well, you can tell because Eloise is sobbing, like she's in her room sobbing after the fight.
Yeah, I don't think she would ever do that. I think because she also deep down understands that Penelope did what she did to actually save her from the queen. And also that just be like whack. So and my Eloise, listen, I'm mad at her, but I love her still. My Eloise is not whack. So no, but I guess season 3, I think it's just gonna be Colin. I think that, they're either gonna be a little more queer baiting. Maybe they'll do it. Maybe they won't. Maybe he'll end up with the model. I don't know.
You mean Benedict?
Who did I say?
You said Colin.
You know what? Maybe they will do Colin because he ended on such a sour note this season. Maybe they'll skip Benedict while they figure out, like, do we want to make Benedict be for bi or what? Like, I don't know. But so maybe they'll skip over him and do Colin first.
Yeah, I've got no real predictions. I just like to see. I need to see what happens next with Penelope and Eloise. Like,
I hope they don't drag it out. That's the one thing I don't want. Like, I don't want it all season 3 for them to be fighting, and then episode, what is it, 6, 8? How many are?
8.
Yeah, I don't want episode 8 them to be like, oh, we're sisters again. No. Resolve it by episode 2, and let's keep it moving, please.
Yeah, especially depending on how big the time jump is between, because there was a bit of a jump with the end of this season from them getting together to them being married and having the annual party at the house. How far the jump will be for the next season start, if it's a year, 2 years, like what's the time jump given how fast the young kids grow up? Like, you have to keep that in mind.
Sure. All right, so let's do hype stars. How many?
I'm gonna say 4.
All right, Carlos.
I think I'm gonna say 4 as well.
I'm gonna say 5. I like
Oh.
the Sharmas really, really, really made it for me. So, all right, thank you both so much. You're
welcome.
It's what we do.
Gentle reader.
It's been another lovely episode of Play.Hype.Dialogue, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Play.Hype.Dialogue. Please rate us on Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcasts, and follow our Instagram at Play.Hype.Dialogue.